Good afternoon. How can the design of interactive environments that foreground an indeterminate plurality of modes of multisensory integration and of kinesthetic and proprioceptive modes of relation allow that people with diverse types of cognition and of motor, sensory motor capacities and potentials can create for themselves a world, rather than having to align themselves with a pre-existing set of patterns, based on the idea that there is a direct correspondence between modes of thinking and modes of perception and movement, which is an idea we take from 4E cognition, in terms of cognition always being embodied, embedded, inactive and expanded. In our paper, we're building upon the experiences elaborated in the framework of the Meta-Body project and forum in relation to the Metatopia environments, which myself, together with a number of collaborators, have been creating and presenting in a huge variety of different contexts, including every year in Madrid with communities of people with diverse abilities or neurodiversity, which are terms we prefer to the still prevailing terms in some contexts of disabilities. The Metatopia environments consist of different layers that have been evolving over many years as different techniques that can come together in a variety of different ways. One of them is a fundamental technique for exploring the kinesthetic proprioceptive capacities of the body to continually vary its potentials to move in new ways internally, and in the possibility to integrate multisensory modalities of sensing in always new ways, which is what I call disalignments. Another of the techniques is the flexonomic structures, which are body extensions that allow the body to feel new kinds of proprioception in conceiving also a kind of space that is not rigid, that is in motion, that is dynamic, that is emergent. Finally, the amorphogenesis environments are digital architecture, VR environments, which, however, subvert a number of key aspects of gaming design and simulation culture and control aesthetics by foregrounding a sense of indeterminacy in how bodily proprioceptions and torsions are transposed non-linearly to amorphous avatars that deform continually and further with a non-linear transposition from one's proprioception onto the avatar, so that this avatar architecture invites one to move in always new ways. It's about instigating a never-ending exploration of the body's capacity to reconfigure its swarm of 360 joints in its never-ending combinatory, and how this always provides a new sense of body, a new proprioceptive sense, and a new sense of fluctuation, the body as fluctuating field. Now, within this framework is where Alicia, Peñalba and Rubén, López, Cano, my colleagues, have been working with me for several years through a series of very framed and methodic kind of interactions with specific time durations, and preceded and succeeded by interviews. A number of conclusions have been extracted, which imply, interestingly, the following. So one of them is the fact that people who tend to be hyperactive and disperse would focus in a very unusual way when being immersed in the installation. A different one was that people who were afraid of falling because they have problems with their bones or feel insecure would feel safe and would relax inside this environment that would allow them to feel some sort of suspension and feel a sense of security, but at the same time freedom. Another interesting consequence we found out is that it would instigate the initiative in people who would normally perhaps not have it, And finally, it would also allow the breaking of some entrenched patterns of habitus and gesture and posture and behavior, so that people who would have normally rather rigid patterns would be able to open them up to new possibilities. So all of these do tend to affirm the proposed idea that a certain approach to design, a design that implies an indeterminacy and open-endedness, but also a multiplicity of potential registers, of multisensory integration and kinesthetic proprioceptive kinds of movement, which are not implying linear orientations and causal relations, may afford that every body and person with very different kinds of diversities can create for themselves a world within the given set of yet undetermined or undefined potentials. Now, this, as I mentioned, has more broad consequences, not just for thinking how to integrate people with diverse abilities or neurodiversity, but more generally for trying to afford means for an intrinsically neurodiverse culture that is not foregrounding the prevalence of a rationalistic causal relation to the world, which in my view is related to the historical predominance of the fixed point of vision coming from Renaissance perspective. What the Metatopia environments propose to do is to deeply and subtly subvert this predominance of the fixed point of vision and regain instead an intrinsic plasticity in the way in which the proprioceptive field of the body can reconfigure internally and in relation to a plastic reconfiguration of multisensory integration as a crucial aspect for rethinking our ecologies in times of surveillance capitalism and digital culture.